So 10 carnivore YouTubers walked into a bar. The bartender looks at him and says, "You guys are all carnivore YouTubers, experts, and influencers. I've got a question for you." And the bartender said, "What percentage of my diet every day should be fat?" And he got 10 different answers. You thought that was a joke, didn't you? Well, it is a joke, because what the carnivore space on YouTube, and by extension keto, has become lately is a frigging joke. Everybody keeps changing their mind. People that you saw 3 years ago, who you learned the basics from, you wouldn't even recognize that what they're doing today. What happened to them? What caused them to think that what they taught 3 years ago is so wrong? The most glaring example of that, of course, is Paul Saladino. We all know Paul Saladino, so I'm not doing anybody a bad deed by mentioning that name. Decided all of a sudden, with a YouTube handle of the Carnivore Doctor, for all things, decided all of a sudden he needed hundreds of calories a day of carbs, and without them, carnivore was a deadly diet. That was a big controversy. Lately, we've had more and more of these carnivore doctors jumping ship. Are we all wrong? Some of us are still sticking to our guns. Some of us figure humans have been doing it for millions of years. It's not going to change. And we were right 3 years ago. The hell are we doing? Are we looking for clicks on YouTube? Or have we experienced, and by we I mean these carnivore doctors, something totally unrelated to diet that we've blamed the diet for? If that was the case, I would probably not be telling you carnivore is healthy, because I had a stroke while I was a carnivore. But just because something happens to you while you just so happen to be in a carnivore diet doesn't mean carnivore caused it. Maybe you've had a car accident while you were on a carnivore diet and you broke your arm. And then the headlines in the next morning news: carnivore diet causes broken arms. This is what they're doing. Now, I thought this had kind of leveled out. I thought, the old Kenberry, BBB, and E, proper human diet, and all of that marketing stuff and slogans was still pretty right on. I thought the ratios we've come to accept, 70% of your fat by calories or 50% by weight, because who the hell knows how to measure this stuff? The caveman didn't measure. Animals don't measure anything, but we measure. How do we know we're using the right units, even units of measurement? Wow, wow, wow. Everything got high protein all of a sudden. You don't see low fat on the cartons of cookies and junk food and poison anymore. It's all high protein now, added protein. Now the people in the carnivore community were talking about protein poisoning. I'm doing the one thing here that I know is good for me. I'm smoking a cigar. Take that. No calories, no protein, no carbohydrates, no fat, no nothing. And I don't even inhale it into my body. My slogan: it's better to smoke plants than to eat them. When have we become so militant about carnivore? You drink coffee, you're not a real carnivore. Not everybody has to go strict carnivore. It's pretty well known and been a long time accepted that carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet. Well, maybe some of these things, like an occasional bunch of broccoli, isn't going to hurt us. Not everybody has to be a militant, strict carnivore. It's the latest thing that happened. The latest thing that happened that has got me pulling my, well, I don't have much hair, but got me frustrated. Got me frustrated. I want to turn away from it. I can't watch other people's YouTube videos anymore, whether they're doctors or not. I don't know what motivates these people. I don't know what drives them. If you had a message 3 years ago, stick to it. It was probably correct. Stop buying into all this hype. And the biggest one lately has been, you need to add carbs. No, you don't need to eat carbohydrates. Your body is full of different sugars. It's dietary sugars that cause you problems. You don't need to add carbohydrates. There's nothing in those foods that you can't live without. No nutrients in plants that you can't get from animal food. We're carnivores. We call ourselves omnivores because we can eat plants when all else fails, but they're not good for us. The only use they have is to help us survive until the animals wander back. But this one carnivore YouTuber, who I won't mention his name, I don't want to start a feud with him. I don't want to start a series of reaction videos. I don't want to start any of that bullshit. Has come out now and changed his friggin' mind about how much fat he thinks we ought to be eating. And he thinks we're eating too much fat. Why? I don't know. I haven't watched his video and don't care to. Somebody told me about it. The problem is simple. The problem is simple, and it's not even a problem. Gaining and losing weight seems to be the only measure that most of us go by to determine whether we're being successful with our current dietary scheme. You can gain weight on carnivore if you eat too much food. Now follow me through this, because this is simple and important, and I believe that this validates all of the same old information that we got, that basically 70% or somewhere near there of fat, 20, 30% protein is the right balance, because that's the balance that these macros come in most food from nature, like an egg or beef, fatty beef, bacon, pork. Those are the foods we evolved on, so those are the foods we fine-tuned our physiology. And that, it didn't change in the past 3 years, it didn't change in the past 300 years, it didn't change in the past 3,000 years, it didn't change in the past 30,000 years. Why can't we make up our mind? The problem always comes down to weight loss. The only thing that will enable you to lose weight is to get your appetite under control. You ever think about it that way? You can't lose weight if you're always hungry. You're torturing yourself. That much willpower doesn't exist to do it for the rest of your life. Maybe for a month or two. So, how do I control my appetite? And here's where the answer is. Eat more fat. Eat more fat. Fat triggers the satiety hormone leptin. Leptin hits your brain, and your brain says, stop eating. If a carnivore who's eating a great 70% fat, 20 to 30% protein diet is losing weight because they just don't want to eat that much, and you know, you've heard it. You've heard the carnivores telling their story, talking about, I just don't want to eat. That's because you're eating enough fat. So along comes this new wave of advice, supposedly, that we're eating too much fat. Now, is that because one person or a couple of people out there found out they had a hard time losing weight no matter how much fat they eat? And could it be that maybe they're leptin resistant? That means that no matter how much leptin their gut produces, their brain doesn't recognize it. So of course they're going to be. Could it be that once again, carnivore YouTubers are looking for things, sensational sounding things, to get major clicks on YouTube that are based on a few unique individuals that have a problem that a lot of us or most of us don't have? If you consciously start trying to eat a lower fat diet, you are going to be hungrier more. You are going to eat more food, and consequently, you're not going to lose weight. If you eat more fat, you will get satisfied sooner. You will eat less food, and consequently, you will lose weight. Maybe not rapidly, but the long-term trend will be to find your optimal weight. But the minute you start to lower the fat content of your diet, I don't care who you are, where you are, what diet you're on, when you eat less fat, you get hungry and you're going to eat more and you're going to gain weight. It's simple, simple logic. Control yourself. I think that 70% calories from fat or 50% of the food by weight from fat, it's the same thing, is the best, in fact, the only rock solid advice that anybody who wants to be a healthy human being on this planet needs to know. Nobody knows that. All the medical advice tells us low fat. Now they're starting to give us more and more and more protein. We don't want too much protein. And if you don't eat protein and you're not eating fat, the only thing left is sugar, carbohydrates, pasta, bread, sweets. The more fat you eat, the less food you will want to eat. The less food you will want to eat, the more weight you will lose. And believe it or not, the healthier you will be, especially if you are a carnivore and don't eat the landscaping. Don't eat the landscaping. I hope that that's simple logic. That's my opinion, but I can't find any fault with it. I would wish these people, if they don't like carnivore for some reason and they've been on YouTube, don't change your message and stay on YouTube. You're becoming guilty of harming people just like that. Most of the medical community, and shame on you. Shame on you. We haven't learned that much in 2 or 3 years to change the whole thing around. And the basis of what we do is that, and written in stone, is that fat to protein ratio that I think is the most important reason that this lifestyle works. Just a little rant for you today. I am getting tired of it. I hope you're not getting too tired of it. But we certainly are getting more and more confused in the messaging from people we've trusted for quite a while and admired. I haven't changed my story. I don't see a reason why I ever would. And I'm still going to smoke cigars. Because I'm 79 years old now. All right, my friends. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me bitch and complain. I hope this made some sense to you. I got a video coming out, going to be labeled the F word, and it's all about fat. I think that is the single most important thing anybody that wants to be on a healthy diet needs to get straight and wrap their head around. Fat. And I eat an enormous amount of fat. And it certainly hasn't made me fat. So how do you explain that, Mr. Doctor? Take the rest of the day off and eat meat, and especially fat.